Okay, hello. Hello, Devin.
Hey,
So,
how's it going?
it's all good here. You fine there? It's
Uh-huh. Very good here.
okay. So, we met, we talked to your blog about Fourier transform. I was beginning to write one myself. I have not yet gotten around to write it yet. But
Yeah.
your perspective was very unique. Like, it was just a change of basis vector that was like an eye-opening for me for the first time I read it. Like, how did you arrive
Yeah.
at that thought point?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I like so kind of as I explained in my blog a little bit at the beginning, like the Fourier transform was, something that they talk a lot about in like all sorts of classes. Um, like it came up for me like in primarily in electrical engineering classes, but also in physics classes with quantum mechanics, Schrodinger's equation, stuff there, and then but also in like a lot of other places as well, like mechanics,
Ah,
um, and since writing the blog, I've learned about plenty of other places that involve the Fourier transform as well. I mean, uh, once you start seeing places where the Fourier transform pops up, you just kind of never stop seeing places where it pops up.
yes.
Um, so I think it's something that's kind of like bedeviled me
Then again, also
for
you graduated from Yale with a degree in both electrical engineering and physics, and then
yeah, that's right.
worked with NASA, SpaceX means all about radio. If you are working on radio technology, then Fourier is a
Uh-huh.
major transformation that we work with.
Yeah. Yeah, and all of those, you need great tools, and the Fourier transform is certainly one of them.
So,
So,
can you explain me how did you get into NASA and SpaceX and what work you did there?
sure, yeah. So um I as you mentioned, I did my master's at Caltech. Um and JPL is actually like a part of Caltech.
Okay.
So JPL is owned and operated by Caltech for NASA. So when I was doing my master's at Caltech, the research group that I was in, had collaborations with people at JPL. Um, and then I, applied. They had a career fair at Caltech, and I, went there and I talked to the employees there, and my put in my resume, and they didn't get back to me for like many months. I thought I had been rejected, um, but eventually they got back to me, and I interviewed, um, and talked with everyone there, and it was you know really great, meeting everyone and seeing what they were working on, and yeah, then they offered me a job, and I started working there. Yeah. So that was probably 6 years ago. Although I did leave JPL, I'm no longer at JPL. So my blog is somewhat out of date, unfortunately.
So, I have heard this, somewhere in some blog read that in NASA, whenever they write code, they avoid recursions. But
They avert recursion.
yes, I read that it is because recursions are not deterministic in nature, so they avoid recursions. I read that and it was fascinating. Like, why do they do that? Like,
Why do they do that?
huh,
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if that's necessarily unique to NASA or JPL. Um, like recursions are like a really interesting like computer science technique, and to some extent like they are mandatory. Like you do need recursion in a lot of places,
yes.
um, but yeah, I think you in general want to just avoid them because they are, you don't know like a priori like how long it's going to execute for, and you are also wasting like space on the stack when you every time you have like a recursion frame. So you are possibly using more memory than you actually need to use.
Like they have also had someone has written that dynamic memory allocation is also not allowed there because
Yeah.
and if you do recursion, then dynamic memory allocation comes into space. So
Right. Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
challenge.
So the projects that I was mostly on were small sat projects.
Okay.
So mostly for like low Earth orbit.
Okay.
Think like CubeSat sized projects. So a CubeSat is typically like 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. So very small,
Okay.
but they can actually be multiples of units of that size. So like there are these like 3 by 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. So 6U, U being the singular unit of CubeSat, the 10 by 10 by 10.
Okay.
So that's still kind of, in the realm of CubeSat slash small sat. But those were the majority of the projects that I was working on at JPL, and the coding requirements there were much less strict. So we did use dynamic programming, and yeah, there is some like I would say that there is kind of an interesting like you know trade-off between like being super strict about your coding or like having like backups and like ways of like recovering from faults.
Okay.
So you can kind of like either like be hyper strict and like only have like and be super efficient, super strict, or you can kind of be loose, but then also have other ways of like recovering in case you like screw up or something.
Fallbacks, writing
What is that?
writing fallbacks for every bit of programs that is there, so that if one fails, the second one starts.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So
So we had like 3 copies of the bootloader
okay.
on one of these projects, which just means that like if one of them gets corrupted by like a cosmic ray or something, like you can just switch to the next section and make sure that you can still operate the satellite.
Okay. So, like, what were the CubeSat used for? Like, it was for remote sensing or just catching radio signals? What was its use?
Yeah, that's a great question. So mostly earth science applications.
Okay.
So that's like measuring. The big one was measuring the water content in the soil. So this is like important for farmers to project like, you know, given how much water like landed on the mountains, like miles and miles away, like, do I need to like, will there be a drought, in 2, 3 months? Do I need to prepare for that drought? Or like, will there be, a ton of like water coming in from like snow melt?
Okay.
Will that generate enough sufficient amounts of water that I don't have to worry about like, you know, I
Running
guess
out of water.
irrigating my crops, to the same extent.
Okay.
So that's all. That's the one of the main, um, things that they were trying to measure, and these were like demonstrator missions.
Okay.
So they didn't actually, they weren't like, uh, you know, they weren't like going to be used ultimately by farmers, but they would prove the way for future missions
Okay.
um, to do similar things.
Hmm. Okay, that's great to know. Like
Yeah,
remote sensing is an important part as well. Like every space organization works on them really hard.
yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally, yeah.
So like you worked at SpaceX also. Like
I did an internship at SpaceX.
okay.
So that was between my junior and senior years in undergrad. I think. Uh, yeah, you guys have undergrad, right? That's
Ah yes, yes, yes. Undergrad.
okay. Okay.
That's the bachelor's we did. Like I did
Yeah, bachelor's.
electronics, so I am.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
So like
Yeah.
I have a little bit of weird question. Okay, so
Sure.
I've always thought like how do they record these rocket launches? The camera
Hmm.
footage they show from the rocket.
Yeah.
So doesn't the high temperature melt the cameras, or how do they transmit it?
Yeah. That's a great question. Yeah. I mean that is something that like SpaceX has really done well, I think. Um, and I think they, some of the first like landing rocket landings that they did, they showed off all this like crazy footage that like
Yes, yes.
no one had like ever seen before.
From all the
Uh,
angles they showed.
what's that?
From all the angles they showed the
Oh yeah,
footages. That was
yeah, yeah,
very
yeah,
fascinating to know.
yeah. No, totally. Um, yeah, so that's, I mean, so like today they have like Starlink,
Yes.
and they're able to like transmit like, so like the main issue with like communicating with rockets like on reentry is like the plasma from the exhaust of the rocket, or like from the debris from the like the matter that's ripped off the like ablative shields, right?
Okay.
So those, that like plasma that's being generated by either the rocket engines or the ablative shield, block the electromagnetic signal.
Okay.
And so uh, but they don't block it in all directions.
Okay.
So for all the rockets and spaceships that preceded SpaceX, they were always trying to transmit to the ground, but that's not possible because that's where the greatest amount of plasma is, which will block the signal.
Yes.
But I believe the most recent SpaceX launches transmit upwards away from the plasma, so they're actually able to transmit that signal out from the rocket,
Okay. So like
and that's they use Starlink.
okay. So bouncing off the Starlink to the antennas in the ground.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So
And so like yeah, yeah, and like the so like when the rockets were landing for the first time, um they were showing video from the barge's perspective of the landing, but they would always like the signal would always cut out at the very last minute before touchdown, and that was mainly because of all the plasma that was coming down. But as soon as the rocket is finished landing and the plasma kind of dissipates, then you're able to reestablish the signal to the barge and see what the you know see if the rocket had fully landed. But it was always this like crazy moment of suspense that you're waiting for. Like, did it land? Did it not land?
I'm like that's a like a great anticipation moment.
I know. Yeah,
Yes.
it's very devious.
So like you also worked on radio signals in big mouths and everything. So
um, sorry, radio signals.
on big mouths, the big antennas, they call it big
Oh
mouths.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So like
yeah.
as watching a documentary about the formation of black hole image
Hmm.
by the MIT Computer Science
Oh yeah,
department.
yeah,
So
yeah,
they use those antennas all over the world and connected them to create the image. So
yeah.
so how do they catch these signals? Do they process the like radio waves coming out from the like microwave background radiations or the radiations that are leaked by the black hole itself? Like what is the point of view there?
Yeah, I think it's from the. It's a good question. Um, yeah, I think it's like emissions from like the material, the like kind of like you know you have like two black holes that are orbiting each other, but they're also kind of like sucking in like all this other surrounding material into themselves at the same time. Think of like Interstellar and like all of the crazy amounts of like heated plasma that like surround the black holes. Um, and so I'm not entirely sure like what is causing this radiation. It could be like infrared that's been like redshifted,
Okay.
but I'm not entirely sure. I think my wife would know, but I do not.
Okay. Is she also a
But
scientist?
yeah, yeah, she's an astrophysicist.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we were at Caltech, so we had been long distance for like 7 years, and then we like got to Caltech, and that was the first time that like we both got into Caltech, and then that was the first time that we had like ever lived together.
Okay.
So that was very exciting.
Okay.
But yeah, so like, you know, they have these dishes scattered all around the world. The EHT, Event Horizon Telescope, and then they record them on disk. So they write it down on like, you know, hard drives or something, and then they mail all the hard drives to like one central like supercomputer and do all the processing of those separate you know, dishes in like a process called interferometry.
Okay.
And then that's how they're able to produce those images.
Okay. That's interesting to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I have I don't know if you saw this other one, but I do have a blog post on radio interferometry.
I haven't started to read that one, but I got deviated from like another article elsewhere, so
Yeah,
I'm yet to read that one.
yeah, absolutely. I think that was the first. I think that was the first blog post that I wrote.
Okay.
But yeah, let me know what you think. Tell me if you see any errors.
So like there is this like today like the buzz is about all about AGI and AI. Like, are you using any of like ChatGPT or Claude to do your works?
Yeah, so we use Gemini.
Okay. Gemini
Um,
5 is good actually.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll be honest, I haven't actually tried any of the other ones.
Okay.
Um, it's, you know, so I now work at Google. So it's the internal tool that we use. So it's the only really one that we'll ever be allowed to use. So
So
kind of have to.
so what kind of work you do at Google now? So
Yeah. So I work on the Pixel Watch.
okay.
Yeah. So I guess, are you familiar with Pixel,
Yes, yes. Google
the
makes
phone?
phones and watch both. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. 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 I think they've been becoming more popular in India, I think.
Yes, like in India, both Samsung and Google generally have a bigger market because like they provide great value to everything, and like most people enjoy using Androids. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah. 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 Versus like here, like, you know, even like a good proportion of my coworkers use like Apple devices. I don't think the execs are very happy about that, but they can't really do much.
It's like a debate between like Android and Apple, and in case of Windows and Linux, like
Yeah,
people are there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they have their fanboys
Yes,
for sure. Yeah, so yeah, so I work on the Pixel Watch now. I was working on the camera for the Pixel phone
okay,
for 3 years, and then about a month ago, I switched over to Pixel Watch, where I'm working on the like health sensor algorithms. So
okay,
I think of like heart rate, SpO2, so blood oxygen saturation, atrial fibrillation detection,
okay.
uh, and then like I think there's like an ECG mode or something. I haven't done too much with that yet, but that's kind of one of the things that my team does as well.
Okay, so like what kind of like sensors they use? Like, and do they use a predictive algorithm? Or they are also after using sensors.
Yeah, yeah. So it's uh, the main sensor like for heart rate detection, for example, is like it's like an LED and a photodiode.
Huh.
So what you do is you shine like a green light into your like wrist. That green light, you know, reflects off your like I guess it's the blood itself. And then depending on how much blood you have in your wrist, it reflects back into the photodetector and then gets like, you know, all the photons get counted, and you can see how much blood, you know, was in your wrist at that one moment. So then when you actually when your heart rate goes through that spot, you get an increase in the amount of photons. So you're able to read that out and then measure exactly what the heart rate was at that moment.
Okay.
Um,
Tell me one thing. I wear two different watches, and both show different heart rates. Like, how does that happen? If the sensor is same, the algorithm is same. I'm always
yeah,
questioning
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. So. Is that you just sitting still or walking around,
Walking around,
running,
walking around.
walking around? Yeah. So that's actually something that uh, is an interesting phenomenon in like these heart rate sensors, and this affects like all heart rate sensors, like no matter how good they are,
Okay.
and you have to like write algorithms to adapt to this. But like when you move your wrist around, the watch can kind of like move about on your wrist,
Okay.
and so that the moving of your watch causes changes in the like photodetector output.
Okay.
So you're actually able to, uh, when you're moving around, the signal gets corrupted by the motion of your wrist.
Okay.
So that actually induces like its own sinusoidal frequency within the data, and so you have to remove the motion from the signal in order to find the heart rate signal. And in general, the motion is the amount of like the the signal power of the motion is much greater than the signal power of the heart rate signal.
Okay. So,
So it's actually kind of hard to measure exactly which one you're looking at.
okay. So the altitude difference between the crests of both the waves are a bit small. So error correcting algorithms must be difficult to write.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then you do the like once you adapt to the two, once you remove the motion signal, then you typically use like some sort of predictive engine.
Okay.
Um, the one that we have is like ML based, but
Okay. What kind of algorithm in ML?
that is a good question. I'm honestly not too sure.
Okay.
Um, I have not looked at that part of the code base
Okay.
just yet.
Uh,
Um,
because I work in I'm an ML engineer, so I'm
okay, yeah,
so I'm little bit curious about whenever people say that we use AI in this or machine learning algorithm in this. I get curious, like, okay, what kind of algorithm are you using to do that?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
can achieve exactly.
yeah. What sort of ML stuff do you work on?
So like currently we are just working on building agents and stuff for like
Mm-hmm.
corporates.
Yeah,
So that's the thing. Like
nice.
LLMs, working with LLMs and that. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
the thing.
definitely all the rage these days.
That's all there is. But then I'm also starting to learn about CUDA and everything, so that
Mm-hmm.
I can work on the training a little bit. But
Yeah.
I'm a little bit confused because I don't have much knowledge on C. I prefer to
Mm-hmm.
use Python, so I'm like finding
Yeah.
CUDA a bit difficult to understand.
Yeah. CUDA has a lot of great documentation, I will say.
Yes.
I used it for some of the like radio astronomy stuff
Okay.
that I was doing at Caltech. Um, I took a class on it as well. Um, but yeah, the documentation is pretty good. It's can be a little bit dense. It's like some of the like libraries have like you know several hundred page like manuals. But you know, once you kind of get the like gist of it, then like different parts start to like rhyme, and you can kind of see patterns and like
Okay.
pattern working. Yeah, but very powerful library.
Yes. So like it now that you work at Google, so is it much like a different experience from working in space industry than in Google?
Yeah, definitely in some ways. Like one thing is like I mean, we get free lunch, which is very nice. That's something that JPL never provided. Yeah, so I mean, in general, like, I think, like, this is a bit of a like a downer statement, but like I think that like at least in the US, like the space industry can sometimes like prey on people's passions. So like people get like very excited about space, and like, I remember several times at JPL like thinking like, oh, like, this is great. I love working on this. Like I would do this for free. And I feel like they sometimes know that, and then like, don't don't pay as well as they maybe should. Um, so that's one difference. Um, Google definitely has a lot more like rigorous code reviews um, and yeah, and a lot more like infrastructure that's like standardized. I always say that Google has like, you know, Google has its own version of like every software that exists outside of Google. Like they have its own like version control, system.
Okay, they do not
Uh,
use Git. Uh,
no, we don't use Git.
okay, so they have its own
Yeah,
version control system.
yeah. It's called Fig or Piper.
Okay,
There's like two. Fig is built on Piper, and it's I think Piper is based on Mercurial.
okay, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I think that's like a version control system that was, I think it preceded Git, although I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So just now that you said that you work at Google, I got reminded of a post I read somewhere that the cosmic ray we were talking about that gives
Hmm.
certain fallbacks and like loading several bootloaders. Something the same kind happened at Google also that flipped a bit in the hardware. Uh,
Hmm.
so it was like a big issue there. Like it took 4 months for them to solve that issue. That okay, it was a
Yeah.
hardware issue.
Yeah.
It was fascinating to
Yeah.
see how a small like cosmic rays are always penetrating the earth, always.
Hmm.
So like how do they make hardwares that are resistant to cosmic rays, or do they have algorithms that always correct the errors that are appearing due to this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And like there's definitely a lot of different approaches to like, they call it like, radiation hardening.
Okay,
And like, yeah, you're right that like it's interesting that there are like very different approaches like from like JPL and Google. Um like when you go to space, you see a lot more cosmic rays than you do on Earth.
okay,
But when you're operating at the scale of Google, like it might actually be the case that you see more cosmic rays than 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 JPL, which is kind of interesting. Um, and yeah, so like at JPL, like we um, like some of the other projects, I remember hearing them talk about like they worked with different vendors to purchase like radiation hardened hardware.
okay,
So I believe Xilinx has like a line of like FPGAs
okay,
that are like certified radiation hardened, um, and I think I'm not entirely sure how they do that. It might be some like design rules in the when you actually are building the silicon,
okay,
or it could be error correcting codes that you were kind of alluding to. So um, yeah, so kind of one of the interesting things is like in consumer hardware and like even commercial hardware, like everyone's trying to go to the smallest node size possible, right? Like everyone's like, okay, like, oh, like the iPhone's on TSMC 4N or like
yes.
3A or like 7A or whatever.
Like how many nanometers can you go less?
Right. Yeah, no, totally. And like it's actually the opposite for like radiation hardening processors, because you can actually be more tolerant to cosmic ray strikes when your feature sizes are actually larger.
Okay.
So they have less of an effect on that like transistor.
Okay.
Um, so that's kind of like an interesting, like, it's a little bit counterintuitive. So like, I think some of these like processors that Xilinx was like selling were 20 nanometers or something.
Okay.
So definitely far away from the bleeding edge.
Okay.
Kind of interesting. In terms of Google though, like uh, Google actually takes like an interesting approach, and has done so from like the very early days. Um, so one of the things that like Google was kind of famous for, I think, in some of the early days was using redundant computers. So rather than buying like the top of the line IBM like server or whatever that has incredible reliability, Google just used three three cheaper computers that they ran kind of simultaneously
Okay.
and were able to kind of have redundant operations using more hardware.
Okay. So they were a little bit of innovative by nature, like from scratch.
Yeah, it was definitely, it was definitely a kind of a different concept at the
Okay.
time, I think.
Okay. So you also mentioned that like in your about I read that you do like astrophotography also. So like okay, like in US you must have like clear skies to do astrophotography. That must be good. Like
Yeah, no, definitely.
like
Sorry, we
like what kind of meteor showers have you observed?
what kind of sources?
Meteor showers.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we're actually in the middle of the Perseids, I believe.
Okay.
Um, so, I mean, that's probably also true for India as well. I think the peak was like 2 nights ago or something,
Yes.
and uh, I have some photographs from a Perseid shower quite a while ago,
Okay.
but I haven't actually gone in a while, so maybe I need to do that again.
Because like I got to this because like day before yesterday there was a meteor shower here, but
Hmm.
like to the naked eye I only saw two or three at night
Mm.
2 a.m. perhaps. So
Oh, I mean that's pretty good.
kind of I
Uh,
immediately I was fascinated like okay, for the first time I'm
yeah,
seeing a meteor shower because I haven't seen one. So
yeah.
it's good.
That's, oh, really? Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think it can be tough with like you know finding dark skies.
The cloud and the dust is a little bit
Mhm.
higher here, so
I
like
see. Yeah,
so even if you have a telescope, it's like you have to go with a more aperture one so that you have a little bit clear visuals. So
oh yeah, totally.
that's
Yeah,
very
yeah. We have yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the nice things about California is that you can drive out not too far from the city, like a couple hours, and find some like really dark areas. Um, you can go out to like, I mean, one popular place when I was in LA was like the Mojave Desert.
okay.
Um, uh, yeah, out in any of like the national parks are really great places for astrophotography.
Okay.
But yeah,
So like since you did your masters at Caltech, like what was the experience there? Because Caltech is considered to be the one of the greatest universities out there to study technology, and like Richard Feynman taught there. So
oh yeah, totally, yeah. I mean, I personally had a great time there. I know that a lot of the undergrads really struggle. They like, I think the undergrads probably worked like 10 times harder than I did. And I think it's a very intense undergraduate experience. I think the master's was not nearly as intense as the like experience for undergrads. Um, but yeah, it is interesting. I mean, I personally loved it. I think that like the master's gives you a lot of like latitude in the classes that you take. Um, whereas like in undergrad, like because I did two majors, I was like fully booked the entire time, and I had no choice in the classes that I had basically no choice in the classes that I like had to take. Whereas like in this master's program, like I would always say that like you know if a professor sneezed weird, I would like drop the class. Like I would only take classes from like professors that I really felt could teach and teach well. So I think it was a really excellent experience um, for me. I think my wife did not have as good of a time, but I think you know being in a PhD program for you know many years is kind of a recipe to to not have a fun time.
Like PhD candidates do get irritated by continuous works of the same thing.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I think that's it's just tough being in the same like space for that long.
Yes.
Like I was at Caltech for like a year and a half, so I think I wasn't there long enough to like start to hate it.
You stay long enough, you will start getting it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's probably true with a lot of different like you know schools and jobs and things. Like if you stay long enough, you'll like people will start asking you to do more and more and more, and your responsibilities will grow and grow and grow, and then you'll be just kind of overworked. And they certainly won't pay you more. So so often that it's a good time to leave.
So, like now that like you are away from the studies and you are working at Google, so like it must have a flexible working time. So, what do you do in free time?
That's a great question. Yeah. I want to do more blog writing. I think I might have more time um, uh, now that I've like changed jobs again. Um, we'll see though. I've been doing a lot of like woodworking stuff,
Okay.
which is fun. I've had a 3D printer for well, I've had a 3D printer for a long time, uh, probably over 10 years.
Okay.
Different ones throughout the time, but I've always been you know big into like making things and building devices. But we moved up to the San Francisco area from LA, Pasadena,
Okay.
and now I have like a garage, so I have like actual space to like try woodworking. So I've been really enjoying that recently.
Okay. That's fascinating to me. Like
Yeah.
I could not have thought that a guy working in space then will be woodworking at the free time.
Yeah, I mean I think it's kind of funny because like I started undergrad as like a mechanical engineer,
Okay.
and didn't like that, so I eventually switched to like electrical engineering um, and physics. But I do think that there is like kind of a part of me that still wants to be a mechanical engineer. It's just that I think software just pays too well, and so it's hard to.
Have you tried opening your car engine and work with it sometimes?
Oh no, I don't do that.
Because you tinker around it and you might like know some new things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or possibly kill myself. I don't know. I just car will just stop working on the highway and that'll be the end. That's I think that's a dangerous place to be in your own car.
Yes. Like probably some other's car, neighbor's car also you can just okay. So
Be safer, yeah.
yeah. So you also studied physics, I saw. Like I read physics sometimes like whenever I'm free. So I was currently going like starting with quantum computation, and I saw that you also worked on it. So can you share your viewpoints like where the field is going, and what are its requirements in the current scenario?
Sure, yeah. So I worked on in a quantum computing lab. Um, I guess my junior and senior years, and that was like during the school term. Um, and I was working in a superconducting quantum computing group. That is, it was actually a surprisingly famous group, and me just kind of as an undergrad didn't really know anything, just kind of futzing around. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a super cool field. I think one of the like I mean one of the jokes about the field is that like it's there's a decades old saying in quantum computing that quantum computers are only 5 years away.
But that 5 years never come.
Yeah. And they've been saying that for the past 30, 40 years. um but yeah, I mean, I think that there are a lot of potential for quantum computers. It's hard to say what the algorithms that they will solve will be. The biggest one right now is like Grover's algorithm, which is factoring, large, almost prime numbers.
But
Yeah.
there is those Grovers and Toys algorithm, both are there in there.
Yeah.
So
Or sorry, is it Shores? Yeah, maybe it's Shores. Maybe you're
Grover is
right.
there, Toys algorithm is there, and
Yeah.
Grover's algorithm. Three algorithms
Right.
currently working.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, it's been a minute since I've worked on that. But yeah, so like they don't. They're still not sure what the applicability will be,
Because
which I think is
because
one of the downsides.
so because I recently read a news that Google also developed some quantum chip like Lilo or something.
Yeah. Mhm.
So because I don't have a little bit of pre-rec about those things, so I could not understand what they were actually trying to achieve. But I read and it seemed fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's super cool. Um, I honestly do not know much about that chip. Although it is kind of funny, my mentor, while I was working in this lab, recently joined that team at Google. So I'm planning to chat with him next week. See what he's been up to, see what they're doing over there.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, yeah, I feel like I should have like a disclaimer that these are all my thoughts and not not representative of Google at all. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I think they don't really know what like the applications will be. I think there's still a lot of potential, and yeah, it seems like the 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 biggest problem for them is getting rid of these quantum errors.
Okay.
So the superconducting qubits, for example, they're built in these huge dilution refrigerators. So it's like these big cylinders that they cool with liquid helium to 4 Kelvin.
Okay.
So very, very close to absolute zero. Like some of the closest things to absolute zero you can possibly get to.
Okay.
And then they have all these So yeah, I mean, a lot of quantum computers, and in particular superconducting quantum computers, operate as RF radio frequency devices. So they operate, around the range of like, 6 to 10, 12 gigahertz. Um, and so the way that you interact with them and you measure them and you poke and prod them is with RF signals, which is kind of an interesting thing that like I didn't really think about before working there. But sorry, anyways, so big dilution refrigerators, and that's to keep the like thermal energy in the qubit as small as possible, because you essentially, when you have like thermal energy, you can disturb the state of the qubit, and that will cause the qubit to like lose its information. So if you program it with a particular state, if you wait long enough and there's like enough thermal energy, that thermal state will decay and you will not be able to use the qubit. So there are like a couple of different approaches. So one of them is qubit lifetime. So you want, so I mean, that's essentially a statement that you want the qubit to live as long as possible. And you can do that by like keeping the temperature low, and producing, very high quality qubits. So that's one way of doing it. And then the other way is with like the quantum error correction. So that's one of the like big things that like, Google and Microsoft are doing, is that they're scaling to a large number of qubits and then using those qubits kind of together. So using many physical qubits as a single logical qubit, and you're able to preserve the state for a longer amount of time. So that's one of the biggest, issues with quantum computers today is preserving that state long enough to do some computation on it.
Okay. So like, how does there are many qubits there. So if you are joining many qubits to a logical one qubit, how does like the simple gates like the CNOT gate or the HADMAT gate that work in particular circuits, like how do they work in that logical state?
That's a very good question and something I did not work on.
I got
um,
curious, so I just asked.
yeah, no, that's a great question and something that I also wish I knew.
Okay, no issues.
um, One of the thing that I was working on was the design of a superconducting qubit that was using a different type of resonator. Um, so you can kind of think of a qubit as like attached to some resonator, and then the qubit itself is able to change the resonance of that resonator, and by measuring the frequency response of that resonator, so like what the natural frequency of that resonator, you were able to therefore determine what the state of the qubit was.
Okay.
So the work that I was doing was mostly like electrical engineering work,
Okay.
modeling these new qubits, and trying to be able to do that as computationally fast as possible.
Because
Uh,
the more faster it is, that is everything that is required always.
yeah,
The faster.
always always want to make things fast. But yeah, we were using this like um, electromagnetic simulation software called HFSS,
Okay.
by like ANSYS. ANSYS? I think it was ANSYS.
Answers. I know
Um,
HFSS program. I'm
okay.
familiar about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Have you used it?
No, no, I've not worked with quantum. Like I just read theories whenever I am free.
Yeah,
Uh, so I just know a little bit
yeah,
about the like
yeah.
high end things, not the
Hmm.
like details on the ground level. I do not know about
Right.
quantum
Yeah,
mechanics.
yeah,
Just
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
circuits and everything. I just know the theories.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. But they also use HFSS for other like electromagnetic simulations. So I used a similar tool by ANSYS, not HFSS, at SpaceX as well. Um,
So they have something to do with electromagnetic inference.
mhm. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. So at SpaceX, uh, they care a lot about like um, what's it called? Electromagnetic compliance is the term. So that's making sure that irradiating you're not radiating frequencies that you shouldn't be radiating, and you're also not susceptible to those same frequencies.
Okay.
So you just want everything to like play nicely, and the way that you do that is with you know all these like huge testing chambers um, that are used for electromagnetic compliance
Okay.
and compatibility. Yeah. Um, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so the back to the quantum computing stuff. Yeah. So my work was mainly on the electrical engineering, despite it being for my applied physics degree.
Okay. So, like, let's get away from the technical stuff a little bit. Uh,
Sure.
like, what kind of books do you read? Because
That's a good question. I do not read nearly as much as I wish I did.
okay,
Um, I I think the most recent book I was reading was Game of Thrones.
okay,
Uh, so that's a little bit dated now. So that was a couple years ago, I think. But actually, so I got this book like freshman year of college about like writing tools,
okay,
which was I think kind of an interesting like approach to thinking about writing. Um, and that's the book that I kind of read off and on when I'm feeling inspired to write blog posts.
okay,
And I feel like it's definitely like I feel like it appeals to the engineer in me.
okay,
It's like you kind of they talk about um like how you design sentences to kind of further the point that you're trying to make.
okay.
Uh,
Approaching writing through a mechanical point of view.
yeah, exactly. Because like I feel like I don't know if you feel this way. I mean, like like I think I saw your blog as well,
Okay,
and obviously you're a writer as well, and like I feel like in school, like we learned about things like you know alliterations and like all these like writing techniques and all these things, but I like I could I could point them out in a book, but I didn't like know what they were like for or whatever. Like I didn't understand like why we were learning all these things.
okay,
And then I think that this book like was really good because it like you know it said if you're trying to like make a point like this, then consider writing your sentence like this.
okay,
So like if you're for example, like if you're describing a journey of some sort and you want to kind of make you're trying to like you could say something like the journey was long,
okay,
but that sentence is just too short. It doesn't like the sentence itself is not conducive to getting the point across that the journey was long. So like if you kind of have like a longer sentence, like they traveled over hills and valleys and whatever and whatever and whatever and like just to get to journey's end, like you can kind of like the shape of the sentence itself kind of has an impact on the way that the meaning gets transmitted to the reader, which I never thought about, and kind of wish that they taught in English class.
when I was in my third year of the graduate program, perhaps I was reading a book. a student asking him how to write, and he replied to his letters. So the book name is Letters to a Young Poet. So,
Hmm.
so there it was said that like you should not you should not write something that you don't think others will understand, or don't think about others. Just write what you feel like, and
Hmm.
slowly it will catch on or go there. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And the second thing, one of my English teachers in my high school used to say, whenever you want to write, never say that the guy is feeling angry or anything. Just show it in action.
Yeah.
It feels much
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Yeah.
If the
Yeah.
guy is
Totally.
angry, if the guy is angry, don't say that he is angry. Just say that he broke a table. It's
Yeah.
good there.
Yeah. 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 No, totally. Yeah. I think they call that like show don't tell
Yes.
in our classes. Yeah. Um, yeah. I think actually one one of the like maybe disservices that one of the like English classes that I had, um, uh, they like were trying to like get us to write more descriptively or something. So they like showed us Harry Potter.
Okay.
I don't know if you've read Harry Potter or
Yeah, I have.
recently. Yeah. But like one of the like things that J.K. Rowling does is that she never just says like, Harry Potter said, this. It would always be Harry said angrily, or Harry said happily, or Harry said, joyously or curiously or something like that.
Okay.
Like the huge emphasis on the adjectives um, in the sentence. Um, is that an adverb?
It's an adjective. Adjective you can say, and
I'm so embarrassed. That's
it's okay because frankly I also don't know.
yeah. You're asking a software engineer, these hard English questions.
No, I just read in my free times,
Yeah,
and
yeah. But yeah, so I guess anyways, like, um, you know, it's kind of interesting because like I find that like today I try to kill any adjectives that I like may try to write, um, like like words like very or extremely, like I think those words in a sentence often like kill the author's like credibility.
okay,
And so if you just say like if you like take out very or like extremely or like any adjective um like it improves your writing a lot, and I think you get your point across more succinctly.
yes.
So
That's the thing because there is one book I would recommend you to read, the more succinct way. There is this book by David Doyce called The Beginning of Infinity.
mm-hmm.
So it's one of the my favorite books that I have ever read, and
Yeah.
I'm rereading it every year. So
Wow.
I randomly open up a chapter and read because Doyce has this way of describing you how you should always pursue knowledge and start it's an infinite journey, and you should not just always think from a single point of view. Go all in. So that's the
Yeah.
you should read that book. It's a good book. I
Yeah.
recommend reading.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely look into it.
Yeah.
What's it is it just about like writing or
No, no, it's not about writing. It's about
the story?
various things what is creativity,
Mm,
what is what does a multiverse mean,
yeah.
because he was a physicist, so he described those kind of things,
Mm,
and those kind of things were there.
yeah.
Not heavily going into the science stuff, but it was about ideas and how you can cultivate on ideas, how to think them through.
Yeah.
Because most times we get ideas and we just go away from
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I find that like following through on ideas is one of the hardest things that there is.
yes. Okay. So like it's already, oh, it's 1 hour already.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you. Bye. Okay. So you must be tired, like going to sleep now, I think.
Yeah. Not too long. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So then, shall we wrap it up or?
Yeah. Sure. That works for me.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Devin, for.
But yeah, it was really nice to chat with you.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna look into those books.
Yes.
But yeah, let me. You should definitely read that other blog post of mine and let me know what you think.
I'll read them. I'll read them. I was fascinated by the small projects also you did, like reducing your AC bill, uh, your air conditioning bill at your home.
Oh yeah.
I was fascinated by that. I've not yet gotten around to read it yet, but
Yeah.
I'll get back to you.
Well, maybe I need to reread that as well. My air conditioning bill this month was obscene. So,
Okay.
uh, but
Okay.
yeah. All right.
Okay. So good night to you. Have a good sleep.
Good night. Well, we'll talk again.
Sure. Sure.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.